Hey, it's Jade welcoming you to another virtual session from The Current. And today we're going to be chatting with and enjoying some music from Early Eyes. And we've got Jake from the band on hand to say hello. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, how are you? How are you doing?
I am doing well under the circumstances.
Which I feel like is the best way to answer that. I know I have this feeling that everyone's answering that question a lot more honestly these days because it's sort of uncomfortable to be like, I'm fantastic. I
Yeah,
just don't
yeah.
feel like
Because
even if
really,
you are
are
having
we?
a yeah, are we
Yeah.
really? And I want to say I've been watching these music videos that you guys have been releasing on YouTube. There's been a couple of new singles that have been rolling out. Drawing Myself, that one came out April 11th or August 11th, and I just saw this week the Wander video that you guys put out. Nice sort of spring, summer, riding your bicycle sort of song. I love that. So I'm
Thank you.
wondering, is there going to be a full record coming out, or is it just going to be singles this year?
Um, I think for the remainder of 2020, we're probably going to just stick with like singles, and maybe we'll compile them on like a short thing coming up. Uh, that's kind of in the works at the moment, so we'll see what's new with that. But moving forward, we are really trying to work towards making something like a little more long form and releasing something kind of as a cohesive unit.
Do you still believe in the idea of an album like a cohesive storytelling, or do you feel like we don't even need that anymore? Now it's kind of like you can just release these singles in the moment.
I think as a listener, I love to listen to albums for the most part, and I definitely value like, as you said, like, the long form narrative. But I also think that the rules as to how everyone gets to release music now are just disappearing every day. So like, I think however people want to release their music is fine with me as long as it's getting out there.
Yeah. And I want to pause and say congratulations again, because getting signed to a label is a huge deal. And I feel like,
Thank you.
that, yeah, that's a big thing. That's huge. So yeah, you guys are now on Epitaph. And do you remember where you were when you got the news? Do you remember what you were doing?
Yes, we had just finished a rehearsal, and our manager called us, well, texted us, and we had known that he was talking to Epitaph at that moment, but the way it was described to us is kind of like a, hey, sometimes they just reach out to bands and they're just maybe trying to establish a connection. We don't know if anything's like legit yet, and so on and so forth. And then we got the call, and he was like, they want to do it. And we were all sitting in our bass player, Desmond. We were sitting in his room, and like, I don't know, it really was one of those moments where like something you think about when you're 14 in your parents' basement comes to fruition in the real world. And we like puppies or something, couldn't, like, had to get it out of our bodies. We were like, ah! Running around.
Who was the first person you called to share the news?
My mom, easy.
Yeah.
Yes.
She would have been mad if you didn't, but
She
she
would
was
have,
not the first.
exactly.
Well, and kind of on the flip side of that, you get signed, there's this big tour plotted out, you're making new music, and then boom, pandemic, and everything kind of stalls out. Can you kind of share that? What was the experience? How did you guys shift gears? And sort of where are you now in all of that?
Yeah, it definitely, I think we all do feel a little bit cheated, as does everyone, as seeing as like what has unfolded over the last 6 months. So I guess it was at first I felt really like, dang, my life sucks so much. And then within like a week of kind of thinking it over, I realized that like this is something that we all are doing together. And from then on, it got a little bit easier to kind of be a band over the internet rather than a band that you can go see live. And I think we, like most people, are still kind of just like floundering, figuring out how to do it super effectively. But I still like doing it. Still having fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a change to, from the live show on stage to trying to interact with your fans and on such an intimate level. I mean, we are seeing into your home right now. And
Yes,
usually
welcome.
there's kind of yeah. That's a beautiful painting in the background as well, I should say. Uh, but there is a sense of,
Had to
bringing
show it.
people bringing people in, and do you feel like that's worked to your benefit in some ways as a band to get this closer relationship to your fans?
I think definitely. Like we things were moving really really quickly when we announced that we were signed. We announced that we were going on a national tour. We were going to be gone from home for a couple months, and like it was all coming at us super super quickly. And hindsight is 2020, as they say. And looking back upon it, it was a little bit nice to be able to kind of just like take a step back and reevaluate, like, what do we want to do as a band? What kind of music do we really want to make? What kind of things do we want to say? And like that whole process was very cathartic, and we got a lot more opportunities to like reach out directly with people who listen to Early Eyes. And we were talking over the internet. We were doing those like various sorts of live streams, and it felt a lot more conversational rather than like band, big wall, listener. And that's something that I overall am thankful for.
Yeah, it's been really lovely, I think, in some ways, and how wonderful to be able to take the time and be really thoughtful about things. Because a lot of times, when you do get signed to a label, it does feel like you're kind of getting pushed through at a certain pace that maybe isn't your pace. So, yeah, it's good to be able to take that. I saw this delightful tweet, and I don't know who in the band posted this on Twitter, but it said, "Imagine this: 2 years from now, the world has revolted. Your skin is clear. You sleep 8 hours a night. You find love. You walk onto the stage at your first show since the pandemic begins. You look out and wonder into the crowd, and it's just sharks." Oh my God, it's sharks. And I thought that was hilarious, but I know that's probably not the dream situation. Whenever this pandemic is done, you get to go out and you can be on a stage anywhere. Where is that stage?
But I mean, I think my favorite shows, and kind of where I guess we cut our teeth, if you will, is like playing in people's basements. And I think like being able to play in someone's basement at a house would be a really special feeling again. But on top of that, eventually, big picture, I would love to play in Europe. That would blow my mind.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
Let's get Early Eyes to Europe.
That would be so rad.
Have you been writing at all during the pandemic? Have you been taking any time?
We took probably like not an intentional hiatus by any means, but we took probably 3 or 4 months at the beginning of the pandemic off from like really actively pursuing writing, just because it was still at a moment where the world was like figuring out how everything was going to go and how to cope with the pandemic, etc. So we kind of just like put our time elsewhere for a period, and then after we kind of everything else started to spin back up again. And I shouldn't say it like that because it's not over, but as soon as people started to learn how to cope with everything that was going on, we started writing again, and we have been writing ever since, still pushing them out.
Do you feel like you're writing more or writing less, or maybe writing in a different style these days?
I think we are definitely writing in a different style. I think it would be hard. It's kind of been like a huge cultural reset for a lot of people. And I think our music that's still about to come out is very much very much pre-pandemic, if you catch my drift. Like there was a lot more optimism and a lot more general positivity. Some may say naivete in the music that we were putting out. And then kind of all of our realities had been shattered in recent months. So the music we're making now looks a lot different. And I still think it is at its core like very much Early Eyes music, if you will. But it is a little darker, a little more nuanced. Yeah, a little more soft spoken. Still very
Yeah, I think
excited about it.
yeah, I think it's hard to avoid, looking around the world and trying to, as a artist, reflect what you're seeing around you. I think it would be hard to not have a little bit of a darker vision going on. Well, I do want to get to some of this music because I know people always want to listen to the music. So before we get into the video that you guys made for us, can you tell us about the making of this video, because it looks fairly fairly fun. It looks like you guys were having a nice time doing this. So give us a little story about what we're about to watch.
Yeah, so we recorded everything in two separate settings. I went with a friend on a hike and sang all of the parts to the best of my abilities in the middle of the woods with my dog, who is right here. Nut. She doesn't want to say hi. Do you want to come here? No? Okay. Maybe we'll turn the laptop. There she is. But I went with my dog out in the woods and sang the parts to the best of my ability, and then we all went home and recorded everything as a band, all instrumental with no vocals, and tried our best to piece them together.
Yeah. Well, let's enjoy that. And like I said, there are some songs that you could enjoy right now. You can pick them up at the Early Eyes Bandcamp or check them out on YouTube. And Jake, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
All right, well, let's enjoy some live music here, I guess pre-recorded music for us. This is Early Eyes with a virtual session on The Current, starting with Magnolias.
Footsteps in those shoes. Someday I will find the time. footsteps in those shoes. Someday I will find the time to see marigolds bloom. I can tell it's you by your footsteps in those shoes. Someday I will find the time to see marigolds bloom. I can tell it's you by your footsteps in those shoes. Someday I will find the time to see marigolds bloom. I'm so boring, or so they told me. So tell me a story until the morning. Bring me a cup of coffee. I'll be a 3 a.m. company. Bring me a cup of coffee. I'll be your 3 a.m. company. I'm still swimming in what you said. Right here, holding my breath. Eyes red, and it's getting late. So why do I feel so awake? Bring me a cup of coffee. I'll be your 3 a.m. company. Bring me a cup of coffee. I'll be your 3 a.m. company. Oh, oh. We are made up of basements, doorways, and leads to lay in. Wearing holes in our shoes, tied with string. Who knows if I'll ever be something? I'm so or so they told me. I'm so boring. I'm proud of us for the hours we've spent patiently drawing in breath, wearing the clothes from yesterday, sleeping quietly, oversharing. Fluorescence hangs above us, just sitting, sinking in the car at the gas station. Something about this quiet is so patient. Quiet conversation, conversation. slowly, and I'm compelled to fog up every window and draw myself. Fluorescent hangs above us, just sitting, sinking in the car at the gas station. Something about this quiet is so patient. Quiet conversation, conversation. Fluorescent hangs above us, just sitting, sinking in the car at the gas station. Something about this quiet is so patient. Quiet conversation, conversation.
And that was just absolutely lovely. 3 songs in a row from Early Eyes. And you can pick up those songs now if you were enjoying them on their Bandcamp, or check them out on their YouTube channel, and look forward to future music from Early Eyes. And thanks to Jake from Early Eyes for hanging out with us for a bit. Also, a big thank you to our technical producers, Jesse and Derek, and technical producer, Eric. And thank you for joining us for another session here on The Current, and keep checking in for future editions of the virtual sessions at thecurrent.org.